Hi everyone, it's me again.
Could you tell me a story about like when World War II started? What do you remember that day?
Well, I remember a little bit of it yet to this day. My folks were very involved with it, trying to listen to it on the radio. Those days they had to have an antenna strung on a pole outside, and it was hard to pick up stations in our house anyway. And so my younger brother and I, we were playing a little loud in the house. So if I remember right, they put our snowsuits on and said go outside and play for a while. But they were laying on the floor trying to get the news of this,
On the
the
radio?
bombing of the Japanese bombing Pearl Harbor. I remember that much. I was six. I was six in December, so I'd have been seven in March. So I remember that. Yeah, to this day. And my brother was 10 years older, and when he turned 17 in July that year, he would have been a senior that coming year in school. But he talked my folks into letting him drop out of school, and he joined the Navy in 1942. He served about 3 years of it in the South Pacific. He was on an old type aircraft carrier, and I don't know what all, but I know when he came back home, when the war was over, he had jungle rot on his ankles, and
Ooh.
he had just about every disease that you could imagine pop out when he got
Yuck.
home.
Hmm. What was it like around town during that wartime era?
Well, the life was probably a lot rougher on my folks than me, but we were on rationing. You had everything well, even I guess cigarettes were even rationed, coffee, sugar, you name it, it was rationed, and you just you had to put away and not because you got stamps for rationing, and that's how you would buy it, unless you know somebody that probably didn't need certain things. They either give it to you or probably buy it from them. I don't know. I don't remember a whole
Hmm.
lot.
Didn't you say something like you didn't have a car or you did have a car?
Well, my folks quit driving during the Second World War. They had sold the car that they had, and from then on we walked, or somebody else give us a ride. But I walked to school every day of my life going to high school, and we'd walk home at noon because there was
But you wouldn't have been in high school yet.
no. But I'm talking.
Oh,
I said
okay.
I
That's
walked
how
to.
long you guys didn't have a car, or you walked. Okay, never mind.
We didn't have a car. My dad bought a car probably shortly after the war ended. I don't remember, second-hand car of some type. I think he got his first brand new car in 1952.
Mm. Um, Speaking of your dad, he was on city council and county board
County board,
and ran for,
assemblyman.
yep. So you remember any of those times? I mean, you said you didn't really care for your dad to be at city council or something because you guys got phone calls constantly?
Well, yeah, but we, city council, if somebody was drove, parked their car a little bit on the sidewalk, there'd be a phone call. Yeah,
Speaking of phone calls, wasn't it a party line back then? And then
oh, party
people could
line.
listen in on the phone calls too?
Oh, yeah. A lot of them were four-party lines. I think we ended up with a two-party line. And before I got out of high school, I think we got a private line. I'm not positive about that. But I remember when I came back from Korea, I called from San Francisco to let them know that I was out of Korea coming home. And I called the number 1340J, and the operator told me there is no 1340J. They do have a dial telephone. I thought, wow, we're really getting
Moving up in the
prosperous
world?
in the world, yeah.
Oh, and then didn't you say one time when you came back on leave, well, I don't know what year it would have been, but there used to not be a bridge on Kemp Street, and then there was, and you didn't know what was going on?
Oh, yeah, yeah. I went to, I thought I would take a, I don't know, I was going to go out to my friend's house. They lived on, I heard that they had moved from Vaughan Street, my friend down Linwall. I was going out to Crescent Lake, and I went to go, and I thought, well, I have to go down Boyce, down on Kemp Street, turn left on Boyce. All of a sudden, there was this bridge, so I crossed it, and there was this uh, four line highway for. I got mixed up and lost out there. I didn't know where the heck I was.
Huh. That's crazy to think of now. What year was
Yeah,
that?
that's probably. See, I came maybe 1956.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that must have been a little shocker to come home from being in a different country and then,
Yeah,
yeah, it's all different here.
yeah, things were different. Boy, Rhinelander was really growing. Now I'm living on Kemp Street.
Yeah, shouldn't get mixed up now, but,
God,
well, maybe on the roundabout, but
I've been in
yeah.
this house 55 years.
Mm. And, let's see here. Let's go back, when you were, how about let's talk about when you were in high school. Let's talk about you going to high school in Rhinelander and you playing football in the bowl.
My senior year, I played football. I had broken ribs after the first game of the season, but I went. They had X-rays, and they said they were just cracked. So they taped me up, and I played. I knew I was hurting pretty good, and a few years later, Dr. Catilla X-rayed me, and he said, "My God, those ribs are busted." He said, "There's abrasion all over those ribs." And I said, "Well, I kind of knew that. I felt like it anyway, because I couldn't do
Run?
any twisting. I could maybe go forward, but the speed was gone, and I was noted to be quite quick.
Well, you had to be. You were the smallest guy in the
I
conference.
was the smallest guy in the
How big
conference.
were you?
Well, I weighed a whole 130 pounds at 5'5", and now I'm about 5'2".
I'd say 5 foot, but, well.
The heck with you. Anyway, uh, I just, we won the first game it was a preseason game against Mosinee, and we won that game 12-0, and I scored those 12 points. But during practice, before the next game, that's when I got my ribs broken because I had a little big mouth on me. And
Well,
when
usually
I was
little guys do.
laying there, and the play was over, and all of a sudden the guy put the knees to me while I was laying on the ground, just kind of goofing off. And
So your own teammate broke your ribs.
yeah, that was it. That's God's truth. I remember the guy well. I'm not going to say anything about him because he was a pretty decent fellow, but he was a tough guy, and he got killed in Vietnam.
But your mouth just got too mouthy, huh?
Yeah, my mouth. I always thought the bigger you were, the harder you fell. I found out the littler I was, the further I flew. So,
About the high school. So what are your memories of being at high school?
well,
You graduated in 1953, so you were there from what year?
I came there in 8th grade. I had been going to Zion Lutheran School
Oh, that would be the junior high,
before,
right?
and I went to junior high, and I was not a good student. I didn't study. I did a lot of things I didn't do. I remember having a pretty good average in school, and then my brother was pretty sick. My younger brother passed away in 1950, my folks took him to Madison to the hospital, and I went from a B plus average in English to a F the next semester. No, and then I kind of goofed up. I goofed off the rest of the year, the rest of the 4 years.
You just rather be social, huh?
Yeah, my good friend neighbor Gracie, she got to see how my mother would sign my notes if I was absent from school for being ill, and she was able to write almost everything the same way my mother did. So Gracie would write me notes, and I'd skip school.
Oh, shame on you.
Well, yeah.
So you walked up all those steps to the school, and you said something like you would just jump down the flight of steps, or
Well,
that's probably why you have bad legs
and the
today.
third floor I would leap those flights of stairs when the bell would ring on certain days when the girls had gym and they'd be in the shower rooms, and that's where our football gear was, and I would leap down to try and catch them in the.
Taking a shower? Oh my
I
gosh.
never caught them in the shower.
Yeah.
But I caught them in the bathroom, and they'd be standing their feet on the toilet. Yeah,
Because I knew you'd be coming. Yuck. Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't very.
Wasn't there something about drilling holes or something? Or drill?
Oh, I took woodworking for Mr. Baker for 4 years. I never accomplished too much. In fact, he did one of my projects for me. He said, "I don't want you to stick around any longer. You have to here." So, yeah, he'd ask for the bit and brace bit. But he'd ask where the drill was, the bit and brace, every day when he'd come in. Where is that drill? Nehls, where is that drill? And so I haven't got it now. I'd be up there, we'd drill holes over the girls' shower room. And they got so they wouldn't take a shower anymore.
Gosh, it sounds like something out of a movie.
Uh-huh.
Sounds like out of a movie.
Well, I wasn't the first guy that ever did that. God, there were more pegs and holes that had been drilled there since probably the school was built.
Mm.
So the only thing I would ever say anything about that was if somebody had asked the newspaper and put it in the paper about the story about somebody drilling holes in above the girls' shower room, and somebody answered the paper and said, "Why don't you ask John Nehls?" And I thought that really wasn't nice of him.
Well, I guess they knew you.
The town kind of knew it.
Oh, geez. And what else do you have to say about high school?
Well, I wish I'd have done a better job.
Mm. Yeah. Do you have any memories of being with friends or anything?
Oh, I had friends, Bob Deedy, we call him Nick Deedy, Dick Rolane. Well, Dick was a year ahead of us. Don Linwall, Archie Whitaker, Butch Danner, Dave Carlson. Those guys are my closest friends, all of them. There maybe was more, but just all of a sudden I probably can't.
Were there any places you would hang out?
At pool halls.
Or
Actually, it was Legacy's pool hall. I forget, Stratton, I guess, was the quarterback for, he had left and went to New York, so he really wasn't on our high school team, no. Our quarterback was Alan Johnson, who was all-state, second string all-state anyway. He was very good. And and then we had Sliver Johnson, Donald Johnson. He went on, he had scholarship to University of Miami in Florida, so he was a very good football player. We had a good team. We had 6 wins, 2 losses.
And that was the 1952 team.
Yeah, 1952 actually,
That's what I just said.
because we didn't play in 53. We
Well, yeah.
graduated from high school. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. What else do you remember from high school? I don't know. I guess that's about it. I don't know if there's any other
Yeah,
things you can
I
remember.
don't want to go any deeper.
I know because you have some that shouldn't be even aired on here, so I'm not gonna ask you. Um, I don't know. I guess maybe that's it for today, or
I think so because the rest of the time I was in the service for 5.5 years, so I don't know. I met your mother, and I don't know. I got married her in '65.
where did you meet her?
Pat's Tavern. She come to fetch her uncle out of there. She was a nurse at Mount Sinai in Milwaukee, and she came there to fetch her uncle. And then she was gone for a couple of weeks, and she came back to fetch her uncle, and she fetched me too. So
Fetched you out of Pat
me out of
Doe's,
the
huh?
Pat Doe's bar, yeah.
Hmm.
So, well, when we got married, the owner of the bar, Gelardo, was my best man, and his wife, Elaine, was my wife's maid of honor.
Mm.
So,
You spent a lot of time at Pat Doe's, didn't you?
yes, I did. I bowled with the team for 25 years. I played fast pitch softball for him for several years. Yeah, I spent a little time there.
Oh, I remember there was a question about going to Fort Lewis.
Oh, yeah, I went. Oh, what happened there was
How did you, yeah, you were
well,
out of service from the Air Force, and then how did you go into the what is it, the Army then?
it was the Army National Guard.
Yeah.
I went down to see. All my friends are going. Pucci Cheslock and all the rest of the guys I knew. Hagen and oh gosh, there's quite a few. And so I went down to the memorial building to wish them well on their trip when they go. And I went across the street and ran into the city bar and bought 4 bottles of, I don't know, it was either whiskey or brandy. I don't remember. I think it was brandy. Those days we were drinking. And gosh, and Shillings, Bill Shillings was the first sergeant. I've always enjoyed Bill as a kid even. But we drank those, I guess, and my God, the next thing you know, they backdated my enlistment, signed me up, and I went with them. But when I went, they had their picture taken at the old front of the old post office. I'm the only one that didn't have a uniform. I had my Air Force fatigues on for the picture, but yeah, I went out there with them for almost a year. I think it was 10, 11 months, something like that. Yeah, I had a
And
good
that was
time.
during what time?
That was in 1961 to 62.
And it was during what? The Cuban crisis?
No, it was actually.
Or you were getting ready
I think
for it?
I
Or
think it was when Russia was building that wall in Germany. In 19, yeah, they built a big wall. They took over part of Germany, the eastern part, and
but what about, wasn't there something about the Cuban Missile Crisis?
well, that was 1960, I think, something like that. I'm not too sure. I
You
think
didn't
what
even know where you
I
were.
think what they were really figuring, we might have to stay in because they knew Vietnam War was going to come up, but it didn't. We didn't get. Well, reason I really wanted to join, I wanted to go back to Germany. I had a hell of a good time in Germany. I was stationed in England 16 months, and I was in Germany 19 months. And they even sent me to Norway for a month to work with the British Air Force for a month on maneuvers. So I had a very good time in Europe. That was after my duty in the Far East. So I really enjoyed the 5.5 years I was in. I was overseas 4 years of it, and I didn't. I like overseas duty. I didn't have to have a Class A uniform on. I wore fatigues all the time, so that was my way of the service. I always wished I'd stayed in. My folks talked me out of it because my brother went through that Second World War, but I should have listened to myself instead of them. I was promised a big bonus if I re-enlisted because I was in a field that was, well, I didn't have enough of them, I guess. I don't know. I was promised a $2,500 bonus if I was re-enlisted.
What field were you in?
I was radar.
Okay.
I was a scope dope.
Okie dokie. Well, anyway, should we wrap up for today?
I think we better because the fun parts came after us.
Okay. So anything else? Any last words for today?
Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Oh, wait a minute. I'm going to show you what I got in the mail from FedEx today. I'll just give you a little. I got this New Year present today, and 14 bottles and 2 nice glasses to celebrate the New Year in.
Okay. Well, Happy New Year.
Yeah, God bless.